Welcome back to the Banganator podcast, episode 25, brought to you by your host, Esley Banga. I hope y'all had a blessed Easter Sunday. And remember, the reason for the holiday is Jesus dying for our sins, rising from the grave, so that we can believe in him and have everlasting life in heaven. And I got a bunch of topics on deck: Dallas Cowboys, Dallas Mavericks, Texas men's basketball, the NCAA women's Final Four, and the Dallas Wings of the WNBA. So let's get to it. So when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, I'm just going to go over one more time before the actual NFL draft comes, my thoughts on what the Cowboys should do. So I think they should draft Bijan Robinson or Devon Achane. Of course, Bijan Robinson went to Texas. Devon Achane went to Texas A&M. And I think that adding them with the loss of Ezekiel Elliott, that'll just beef up our running game even more. Bijan Robinson is like Tony Pollard. He's like a mix of Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott because he's still young. He's fast. He's great catching out the backfield and also just being able to evade tackles. We've all seen his highlights from Texas, so he would be a good idea. Devon Achane, he's like Tony Pollard, but put a little bit more speed on him. Now, I know the Cowboys also have running back Ronald Jones. That's who they signed recently, but I think you cut whatever third string running back that you have already, cut him, and then draft Bijan Robinson if he falls to you. Now, it's not going to be likely that he falls to you. I think the Cowboys have the number 26. They're the number 26 pick. But Devon Achane, he's for sure gonna be available. So I think you draft one of those two running backs, and you're set for the running game. The Cowboys should also draft quarterback Max Duggan from TCU. We all saw his Cinderella type run to the national championship. I would draft Max Duggan in one of the later rounds. If you don't get Max Duggan, then draft another QB in the later rounds. They should start looking at different options now, because now is the time so that you can develop them, so that if Dak Prescott still shows that he's not enough to take us to the promised land, and then you already have another quarterback developed. So that's what I think they should do. Will they do that? I don't think so. Also, defense and O-line. That's what they should do. So we're set on the offensive side, especially all the weapons we got in the offseason. Defense, you're good at DB, I think. But linebacker, defensive line, and then your offensive line as well. You got some good production in offensive linemen like Terrence Steele, Tyler Smith. They were really good. They stepped up last season. And with aging offensive linemen like Tyron Smith and Zach Martin's still good, but they're getting up in age. Tyron Smith, he's getting injured every single season, misses at least some games. So you got to replace those old linemen. So the early rounds, they definitely got to look at that. Now, I really don't want to talk about the Dallas Mavericks because what they did the past 2 months has been embarrassing. Come on, Mavs. They finished 38-44. They finished 11th in the West whenever they were the 6th spot, whenever they got Kyrie. And both Kyrie and Luka together, they've been having fantastic games. Whether it's just one player going off or both players going off. All that offensive production. But y'all still can't win games. They went 5-11 when playing together. That's embarrassing. Whenever we got Kyrie, I was like, yeah, okay, all right. We're going to make some noise in the playoffs at least. Second round maybe. Not even that. We missed the play-in tournament. Didn't even make the playoffs. Missed the play-in tournament. Embarrassing. So Luka and Kyrie together, it's not enough. We see that. They need more defense. And Kyrie was not a problem at all. He wasn't a problem at all. But Luka not buying in totally to playing defense, always complaining to refs. Almost every trip down the floor, or after something happens and a little contact is made. Bro, stop complaining. Get back. What, you gonna complain every single time? Come on, bro. Play D. Buy in. This ain't on Jason Kidd. This is on Luka and the rest of the team not playing enough defense. So, yeah, I'm heated. Because the Mavs should be in the... Actually, they shouldn't be because you are what your record says you are. But it's hella disappointing how they were the 6th seed. All of a sudden, 8th seed, 10th seed, out of the play-in. Embarrassing. And you know what else was embarrassing? The Mavs choosing to sit down Luka the last game whenever we had a chance to win that game and get into the last spot of the play-in tournament. That's embarrassing right there. Like, damn. I mean, I know y'all thinking about the draft and, the offseason, but come on, bruh. I don't even know what the Mavs are going to do in the offseason. I don't know if Kyrie is going to re-sign with the Mavs. Okay, if he re-signs with the Mavs, do you want to do a long-term deal? And we know how dangerous that is because everywhere else that he's been missing games for no reason, not being committed, being committed 1 minute, not being committed the next. Just wishy-washy. Damn, Luka, he might give it another year before he thinks about dipping on Dallas. So I don't know how true that is. I don't know if Luka really feels that way. Mark Cuban is committed to making Luka happy, but were you making Luka happy when you let go of Jalen Brunson last offseason? No. You didn't even make an offer to him. And we saw how good of a player that he was. He was our second best player. But you let him go to the Knicks, and then we see him being a star for the Knicks. I don't know what the Mavs need to do, but things have to change, and they have to get defensive players pronto, ASAP. So I'm gonna talk Texas Longhorns men's basketball. Since in my last episode I had talked about how they won their Sweet 16 matchup to get to the Elite Eight. So now I'm talking about their Elite Eight matchup versus the Miami Hurricanes. And they lost in that matchup 88-81. Timmy Allen, Marcus Carr, Serge Ibaka Rice, they were the only three to score double-digit points. Timmy Allen, 16 points. Marcus Carr, our star player, 17 points. And Serge Ibaka Rice, 15 points. Not gonna lie, every time Jabari Rice was shooting those threes, I was like, shoot that hoe, Jabari. And if y'all know, y'all know. But the turning point of the game was when Marcus Carr, he kind of injured himself or hurt himself, his leg, in the middle of the second half. And then he was out for like 3, 4, 5 minutes, something like that, before he came back in the lineup. But during that time, the Miami Canes made a comeback. They made a comeback, and we were up by 13 points. But they kept coming back, kept scoring. We couldn't score enough. It's like it was weird without Marcus Carr. We couldn't do anything on offense, or we couldn't do much. So they ended up coming back. The last few minutes, they went up, and then we just couldn't score enough, couldn't produce enough offense. So it was really disappointing. I was disappointed because we were good enough to get to the Final Four. Like, I swear, it seemed like the Texas men's basketball team, before the game, they looked up Matt Ryan highlights on how to blow leads. Their interim head coach, they just signed him to a long-term deal. He did so well this season, so I'm so happy for him. So let's keep it up. Hook 'em. Now, the NCAA Women's Final Four, that's where it was at. The action, the spectacular plays and awesome performances, the drama. That's where it was at. Now, the Final Four was already spectacular. Like, the Final Four matchups were way better than the men's matchups. Because the men, all of the good teams, or the teams that we know, they were knocked out in the Elite Eight, and Final Four was most teams that we didn't really hear about. Congrats to UConn, though. UConn is good. But Caitlin Clark, back-to-back 40-point games in the Elite Eight and Final Four. 41 points against the defending champs, South Carolina. And in the other Final Four matchup, LSU went against Virginia Tech. Angel Reese had a awesome, spectacular performance in that game with 24 points, 12 rebounds. And it amazed me how good she was at getting rebounds. I didn't know that. And then, of course, her point production. She always does that. And like I've said before, she's a double-double queen. So another instance of her getting a double-double. 24 points, 12 rebounds. Now, in the national championship game, LSU versus Iowa, like that's the matchup I wanted to see. Going into the Final Four, that's the matchup I wanted to see. Like, if that matchup happens, that's the one I'm going to watch. It didn't really pan out the way I thought it would. It did early because Caitlin Clark started putting up threes like it was nothing. But then in the second half, I don't know what Coach Kim Mulkey said to her players at halftime, but they just took off and never looked back. They blew out Iowa 102-85, and they actually broke a record for the most points scored in a national championship game. So that tells you all you need to know about LSU. So I'm happy for Coach Kim Mulkey, who won the title at LSU after just 2 seasons there. So she was at Baylor before. She won 3 at Baylor. She won 1 as an assistant coach before that, and then 2 as a college player before that. So yeah, she's goated in NCAA women's basketball, like Pat Summitt type. Now, what I didn't like was the drama that ensued after the championship game. Immediately after the game and on Monday, everybody should have been talking about the actual game, how good LSU was, and how impressive it was that they found a way to overpower the amazing Caitlin Clark and her offensive output. But no, instead it was about, why did Angel Reese do this in front of Caitlin Clark? Oh, it's classless. She's classless. Are you serious? That's what we doing now? I'm disappointed but not surprised. Because Caitlin Clark, just 2 days before, did the exact same thing to a South Carolina opponent. And then 2 days later in the national championship game, Angel Reese does the same thing to you. And now, she's classless. Nobody said anything when Caitlin Clark did it. But Angel Reese does it. She's classless. Come on now. And that's what we want in sports. We want the talking back. We want the trash talk, the showboating to each other. That's what we want. We like it in men's sports. Why can't we have that here? And that's going to do nothing but draw even more eyes to women's basketball. Women's basketball had a record attendance for the Final Four in Dallas, which I would have went to if I didn't have to work, and record viewership. Like, I'm going to be honest, more people cared about the Final Four and national championship on the women's side than they did on the men's side. So the people that chastise her for doing something that somebody else did, come on, y'all know what's up and y'all know what's wrong. Congratulations to LSU, even though I'm a Texas Longhorns fan, and I wish that my Texas Longhorns women's basketball team made it to the Final Four. Congratulations to LSU. Congratulations to Angel Reese, who is now getting record NIL deals. And Caitlin Clark, we'll see you back next year. And last but not least, I'm talking my Dallas Wings, my favorite WNBA team. I don't care how many of those that don't care about WNBA or don't like WNBA because it's women's basketball. I don't care. Like, we got some good athletes. That's why I'm representing my Dallas Wings with Arika Ngubawale jersey. And I went to 2 of their games last year. It was awesome. I had front row courtside seats. So it's awesome being a Dallas Wings fan. And in the WNBA draft this year with the 3rd pick, we drafted Maddie Siegrist from Villanova. She's a forward. And we did lose a lot of key players in offseason. So it was important for us to find good talent to replace those players. And with the 5th pick in the WNBA draft, we selected Lou Lopez Seneschal. She's from UConn, and we all know how good UConn's women's basketball is. Like, UConn is the standard for women's basketball. You know how in men's you got Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, schools like that. UConn is it. We all know Gigi Bryant, Kobe Bryant's daughter. She was destined to go there, and she was only a preteen. So she was destined to go to UConn. So that's how good UConn basketball is. So I know that we're getting a great athlete in Lou Lopez Seneschal. Now, I do wish that they drafted Haley Jones from Stanford instead with that number 5 pick. Because Haley Jones, to me, she's a better athlete. Not only can she create her own shot, but Haley Jones was a 3-time Pac-12 Player of the Year. She was a national championship in 2021, but instead they made this pick. And looking back on it and the highlights, I'm all right with it. And also, elle parle français aussi. Elle vient de France. She speaks French. She is from France. So that's pretty cool. You know, I speak French, being from the Congo. The Congo is in the Congo, French is the official language. So it was pretty cool to see somebody that's on my favorite team also speak French. Thank you all for watching this episode of the Banganator podcast. I hope y'all enjoyed it. Please don't forget to subscribe and like on my channel, and also follow the Banganator podcast on Instagram. The next episode, I will be talking mainly about the Dallas Cowboys draft, since it is that time in about 2 weeks. So can't wait to see y'all again. Go Cowboys.
The Banganator podcast is brought to you by Esli Banga, diehard fan of the Dallas Cowboys since 1997. How about them Cowboys?